Thursday and forward will be the NFL draft. We're 3 days away. Let's play Fact or Fiction. Orlovsky, if I said the Dallas Cowboys need to draft a wide receiver in round 1, is that fact or fiction?
That's fact. Tet McMillan out of Arizona is an intriguing guy just because of his frame. Matthew Golden out of Texas, his vertical speed. CeeDee Lamb's sensational. But there's no point in only having a number 1 wide receiver if that's the only thing that you have. Emeka Egbuka, of it rather than force him the ball.
D Wood, I've always found this an interesting one. Wide receiver, I guess, is no longer a luxury, right? If you're the Cowboys, you have a variety of holes, and they do. How would you feel about them taking a wide receiver with that 12th pick in this draft? D Wood, is that the right direction for Dallas to go?
Seems a little rich considering this wide receiver draft is not highly heralded, but I get Dan's point here. I mean, the discrepancy between, CeeDee Lamb and their number 2 was just like it was like a canyon. They need to address the number 2 position. You could make the case they could go running back in this draft. There's no, I think that's an option as well. But they have to find a number 2 receiver via either the draft or somewhere in the rest of free agency, because Dallas offense doesn't operate at the level we've been accustomed to seeing without another viable weapon opposite CeeDee Lamb.
Doesn't feel like Ashton Jeanty will fall to them at 12. If he did, that would be an interesting conversation.
They do have 10 picks, right?
Yeah.
They could move up to get somebody. Wide receiver, I think they could go wide receiver at 12. They know they need a number 2. McMillan and Matthew Golden, both worth watching there. But if the value's there, I could also see them doing defensive line or corner at that spot.
Graziano, you get the next one. Let's go to Chicago. The fans, they're fired up. They have the 10th pick. If I said the Bears will be a playoff team if Ashton Jeanty falls to them, is that fact or fiction?
I'm still going to say fiction just out of respect for the rest of the division, right? You had 3 playoff teams in that division last year, and obviously the Bears were not one of them. So fighting uphill, I think they'll be a better team this year because of the moves they've made this offseason. I just still think it's a really tough fight through that division to get to the playoffs from where they are.
Orlovsky, I was chatting with a big Bears fan yesterday that everyone watches here on ESPN by the name of Michael Wilbon. He's asking me a bunch of questions about what they're going to do. If the running back is sitting there at 10, Dan, should they take him?
I like Jeanty there. I like Tyler Warren a little bit more. I would say fiction on the tackle, ability to run away from people. This is an offense under Ben Johnson that's going to try to emulate the run game that Detroit had. They don't have a very much so in the pocket operational quarterback that plays on time and rhythm. Is he capable of doing it? Yes. Will he do it consistently? That's to be determined. If he does, I think the Bears become a playoff football team.
Are they more likely, very quickly, Dan, is he more likely to take that step if they have the unbelievable running back behind him, or if they have another weapon in the middle of the field like Tyler Warren at tight end?
Another weapon in the middle of the field like Tyler Warren at tight end, but it more so is going to be upon the offensive line and then his own growth and timing.
All right, and then D. Wood, here's the last fact or fiction. If I said there will be 4 quarterbacks drafted Thursday night, which means round 1, is that fact or fiction?
Green, I tend to lean fact here because we know that the quarterback position obviously is the most important position in football, and those guys tend to be pushed up. And you look at a situation like what the New Orleans Saints are dealing with, what the Pittsburgh Steelers are dealing with. There are going to be teams, particularly in the back half of the first round, they'll have an opportunity to trade up for one of these guys, because obviously you get what comes with the first round quarterback, that 5th-year option. So I think we're going to see some of these guys get picked in the back half of the first round.
Graziano, these are things that one can wager on. At ESPN Bet, at last check, the over-under was 2.5 quarterbacks in round 1. You do not bet on these things. I'll put that out there. But if you were to lean one way or the other on that, which way would you lean?
If asked this question, fact or fiction, I would definitely lean fiction in terms of 4 quarterbacks being taken in the first round. I don't get the sense that teams are very excited about this group of quarterbacks after Cam Ward, who we all believe will be gone at number 1. So I would think 3 is probably the most you'll see, and I think even that at this point would surprise me.
And again, Danny, and we opened the show with this. Everything hinges on what happens to me at the very beginning. If the Giants take the quarterback at 3, which
that changes everything.
That changes that, right? Then all of a sudden, I think 4 in the first round, even 5 in the first round is in play. If we don't get the Giants, they really, Dan, it feels to me like 3 will determine everything with regard to that the rest of the night.
Totally agree with what happens at 3 kind of can send a domino effect that is going to be very shocking. I also think the Saints at 9. If the Saints take a quarterback at 9, we will get fireworks.
And
I don't think they're going to.
And which quarterback? Right. Everyone is telling me they're not going to. And if they do, which quarterback could they take? Which will lead us to what? See him drafted by the Saints or by the Steelers?
You know, Green, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've invested heavily in their offensive line over the past couple of years. I think that group is going to get better. Obviously, we know they went out and traded and signed DK Metcalf to go with George Pickens. You got Pat Freiermuth there. And so, for me, Shedeur Sanders is a guy that'll be able to push the ball down the field to those big weapons on offense. They still want to run the ball, but he'll be able to play action pass and push the ball down the field.
So let me just confirm this with Graziano. The feeling I'm getting, and again, all I do is I just amalgamate all of the conversations that I'm hearing and the opinions and everything else, is that the Steelers don't feel like they need to draft a quarterback at 21, which I think surprises most people who hear that.
They're in a similar situation to what I was just talking about with the Giants, right? Because they're coming off of Kenny Pickett. A couple of years ago, they felt they needed to draft a quarterback in the first round. They took Kenny Pickett. It didn't work out. So they have scars from that. So, yeah, if they're taking quarterback at 21, they want to be really, really sure. And they've done the work. They had Shedeur Sanders in. They've looked at Jackson Dart and Tyler Shuck and all the guys that we keep hearing about. Important to remember, Pittsburgh doesn't have a second-round pick.
Right.
So if they really like somebody at 21, they may be more – they're not a team that can wait, right, like the Giants or the Browns or the Saints, who all pick near the top of the second round. So Pittsburgh may if Shedeur Sanders fell to 21 – they may look at it and go, you know what? We had him rated higher than that. Let's go ahead and take him.
They don't have a second-round pick because they traded him for DK Metcalf, who was catching passes from Aaron Rodgers on a field at UCLA, and it's starting to look like those may be the only passes he ever catches. Wait a minute, D. Wood, why are you making that face?
Are we being serious right now? Are you being serious? Can you look at T.J. Watt, you know, like – Minka Fitzpatrick, all those guys, and you're going to trot out Mason Rudolph as your quarterback? Like, really? Really? Is that what we're going to do if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers right now? Is you're going to trot out Mason Rudolph as your quarterback when you got Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow in your division? Like, I'll be like, what the hell is going on in our organization right now where we're in a position where Mason Rudolph is our starting quarterback? We got to be serious. You got to add to the quarterback room.
Well, so that's the question. So, Dan Orlovsky, I was reading your notes last night, and I'm intrigued at the player that you are intrigued by for the Steelers as a possibility.
Yeah, as time has gone on, I'm more intrigued with the Steelers and Jalen Milroe than I was 2 or 3 weeks ago. I would start with this. I don't think that there's a team in the NFL that is in a worse situation when it comes to the quarterback position than the Pittsburgh Steelers. The only team that I can think about that's in the conversation is Cleveland. They got the second pick, okay? They got I don't think they'll take quarterback. They got the second pick. The reason I say Milroe, a couple things. Number one, the likelihood that he'll be there at 21. Number two, the receivers on the perimeter, both George Pickens and DK Metcalf. Could you imagine a quarterback with the ability to push the ball downfield like Milroe? And then the rare athletic ability that we're watching. An organization that has had to watch at least twice a year ago, gosh, we got to play that guy Lamar Jackson again. We got to play Lamar again. And this is a guy that has rare physical talent when it comes to Jalen Milroe. 19 touchdown runs of 10 or more yards that led college football. 27 touchdown passes, 27 of 25 or more. A finished product. But I just want to remind folks, he only started for 2 years. And in those 2 years, 2 different offenses. Yeah. This young man is rare physical talent.
But to sort of underline the point, if you're the Steelers and you draft Jalen Milroe, that does not necessarily mean I hope it doesn't mean you have your starter week 1, right? Because, I mean, that's the thing.
You can. Be looking at Mason Rudolph,
yeah.
Who I hope
you think he could start week 1, Dan?
Yeah, Greeny, this goes back to the conversation around, and sometimes we frame them as negative in the context of it. It goes back to when you get these dynamically athletic quarterbacks, and you got guys on the outside like DK Metcalf and George Pickens, defenses can't get overly complicated on early downs. Arthur Smith, the Steelers offense coordinator, loves the run game, loves to design the run game. So I think that you can, in many ways, build an offense that has like got remnants of early Lamar stuff where the quarterback runs a big part of it. You'll get a little bit simplified defenses. We don't have to overthink this as well.
Okay, I have to leave it there because I'm up against the bottom of the hour, but obviously everyone's dying to jump in. There's lots to be said there. That easily could happen. If it did, it wouldn't surprise me that much.
Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn cách làm một chiếc túi xách mini cho búp bê từ len nha. Nguyên liệu mình cần có chính là len này. Mình sẽ sử dụng hai màu sắc như thế này để làm nha mọi người. Màu vàng và màu xanh nha, mình sẽ kết hợp lại với nhau. Mọi người chuẩn bị cho mình kim móc len này, kéo này. Bây giờ mình sẽ bắt tay vào làm. Đầu tiên mình sẽ sử dụng cái phần len màu vàng trước nhé. Mình sẽ gỡ len ra để sử dụng nha mọi người. Rồi bây giờ sẽ tiến hành móc. Mình sẽ móc vào đây một cái nút thắt. Rồi bây giờ sẽ móc vào đây những cái mũi bính kép nhé. Mình móc xuống đây. Cứ luân phiên từng mũi nhé. Rồi, móc tiếp này. Cứ móc từng mũi nửa kép vào. Tiếp nha mọi người.